They said Chike was a good man, faithful husband, trusted architect, the kind every mother prayed her daughter would marry. In the bright city of Lagos, where fortunes rise and fall with traffic lights, his name carried calm. He smiled easily, spoke softly, and wore loyalty like a second skin. Edeora, his wife, believed she had found her forever. She was a teacher, gentle but sharp, the kind who corrected your grammar and your conscience in the same breath. Together they built a quiet paradise in Lekki, white walls, trimmed hedges, laughter echoing through the kitchen. On Sundays they worshipped at the same church pew, holding hands as if love were unbreakable. To neighbors, they were perfection. But Lagos has a way of hiding rot beneath perfume. Each morning, Chike left home with a kiss that felt routine, quick, confident, sealing secrets rather than affection. He said, "I'll be home for dinner," and Edeora smiled because love, in its blindness, trust promises it shouldn't. At school, Edeora marked essays and listened to her colleagues' gossip. Sometimes she'd catch fragments, a name, a laugh, a story about a man who looked too familiar buying jewelry for a woman who wasn't his wife. She laughed it off. There were many Chikes in Lagos. She never imagined one of them was hers. Evenings glowed golden through their curtains. She cooked jollof while he answered late-night calls, claiming they were clients. She believed. Until the Friday that changed everything. It rained that night, thin and mean, the kind that turns Lagos roads into mirrors of regret. Edeora stayed late at school, finishing her lesson plans. Chike had promised to pick her up at 7. She waited. He didn't come. His phone went unanswered. She finally drove herself, tired eyes fighting the rain's reflection. Then, headlights. A blinding flash. A sound like the sky cracking open. And silence. Her car spun into darkness, and the city swallowed her whole. For 6 months, Edeora lay between worlds. Machines hissed like tired spirits, doctors murmured, nurses prayed. The hospital became Chike's second home, at least on the surface. He came daily, flowers in hand, tears rehearsed. The nurses called him devoted. They didn't see the guilt beneath his eyes. Because while his wife slept in limbo, Chike's secret life thrived outside those sterile walls. Another woman. Another apartment. Another story entirely. But fate is patient. It waits until lies grow fat before cutting them open. One bright morning, when the sun spilled gold across the hospital floor, Edeora's fingers twitched. The nurse gasped. Her eyelids fluttered like curtains stirred by a forgotten breeze. And slowly, painfully, Edeora woke. When Chike entered the room, his heart stopped. She whispered his name, Chiku, voice weak as paper. He forced a smile, kissed her forehead, and felt fear crawl beneath his skin. Because she had returned, and with her return, his secrets had lost their shield. She didn't remember the crash. Not yet. But she remembered love, and that was enough to make him tremble. When Edeora returned home, the air felt heavier, as if the house itself carried secrets. Dust had gathered in corners she never allowed to rest. The curtains she loved were gone, replaced by something newer, glossier, like a stranger had redecorated her memories. Her mother, Mama Ijeoma, moved about the kitchen, humming old hymns and watching her daughter with the cautious eyes of someone who feared joy might vanish too quickly. Chike hovered nearby, all smiles and service, offering tea, offering comfort, offering silence. But silence, Edeora soon learned, speaks louder than any lie. Days passed. Her body healed faster than her spirit. She noticed Chike's phone habits, the quick glances, the muted notifications, the late-night client messages that made him step outside. The same patterns she used to ignore now throbbed like warnings. Sometimes, when he left for work, Edeora walked through the house slowly, touching the furniture, feeling the ghost of time. One afternoon, while rearranging the wardrobe, she found something odd, a gold bracelet. Too small for her wrist, too feminine for accident. It carried a faint perfume she didn't wear. She turned it over in her hand and felt her heart beat drum like a distant drum. When she asked Jack about it that evening, his smile came too fast. "Oh, that. One of your friends brought it when they visited. You don't remember?" She nodded quietly. But memory was returning now, not of the bracelet, but of that night. The rain. The headlights. The unanswered calls. In dreams, she saw flashes, Jack's face in the dark, a phone ringing unanswered, a woman's voice laughing softly somewhere far away. She woke in sweat, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much truth could hide in one man's eyes. The following Sunday, after service, Eudora decided to surprise Jack at his office. He had left early, saying he had to review blueprints for a new project. She took a cab, the Lagos traffic humming like restless spirits. But when she arrived, the security man at the gate frowned. "Oga Jack. He know they work here again, oh. Since last month." Her breath caught. "What?" The man nodded, scratching his head. "He say he go start his own firm. But madam, sometimes him still they come around to meet one woman, fair lady, small, drives one red motor." Eudora thanked him quietly and walked away. The city blurred. Her steps lost rhythm. The truth was no longer a whisper, it was a shout she could barely face. That night, when Jack returned, she was silent. He asked about dinner, about her health, about her smile. She said nothing. Only watched him, the way he loosened his tie, the way he avoided her eyes. Somewhere inside, the woman who had almost died was beginning to awaken again, not from a coma this time, but from the illusion of love. Lagos has a way of hiding truth in traffic. You can drive past 100 stories and never see the one meant for you. But Eudora saw hers one humid afternoon when curiosity became courage. She remembered the security guard's words, "A fair lady, a red car." Those words became a compass. One evening, when Jack said he'd be working late, she quietly took his old spare keys and followed. The city lights blurred behind her taxi as rain began to fall, soft and sly, as if heaven itself wanted to wash secrets clean. He stopped in Suralere, at a modest block of service flats, nothing extravagant, just hidden enough. Eudora waited across the street, heartbeat loud against the hum of passing Okadas. Then she saw her, a young woman in a flowing red dress stepping from a small red car, smiling as Jack opened the door for her. The smile between them was too practiced to be new. Eudora felt no scream, no tears, only a cold calm that told her truth had come to collect its debt. She watched them disappear inside, counted the minutes until the light in the window flickered on. Then she left. The next day she returned, not as a wife, but as a witness. She spoke to the gatekeeper, old man Uche, who remembered her husband well. "He come here often, madam," he said quietly. "That lady, she say she be his wife." Eudora thanked him and walked away, numb. On the ride home, memories rearranged themselves like broken glass, the missed calls, the new curtains, the perfume on the bracelet. The puzzle was complete, and every piece cut her a little deeper. But grief has a strange twin, clarity. She began to see beyond betrayal. She saw how she had built her world around someone else's shadow. That night she stood before her mirror, touching the faint scar near her hairline, and whispered, "You lived through death. You can live through this." When Jack returned home, his phone buzzing in his pocket, she looked at him and smiled, softly, dangerously, as if she already knew everything. And perhaps he sensed it, because for the first time, he looked afraid. When Ijeoma walked back into that house, the one she had called home, the walls no longer whispered safety. They whispered lies. The portraits on the wall mocked her with smiles that now meant nothing. Each frame, each shadow, each piece of furniture felt like evidence of a stranger's life she had accidentally stumbled into. She placed her hand on the dining table where she and Connor once shared laughter. Now, The surface was cold, smooth, lifeless, and distant. Then she saw it. A little notebook, tucked between two old photo albums. She opened it, and her breath froze. Inside were sketches of a woman, her face. But next to each sketch were notes written in Connor's hand. Version 2, softer eyes. Version 3, more trusting. Version 4, perfect wife. It wasn't love he painted. It was control. And then came the sound of a key turning in the lock. Connor walked in, holding an umbrella dripping rainwater onto the floor. He froze when he saw her standing there, the notebook in her hands. "Ijeoma," he said slowly, his face pale. "You shouldn't be walking around yet." Her voice trembled. "How long were you planning to keep lying to me, Connor?" He stepped forward, his tone switching from worry to manipulation. "You've been through a lot. The accident, your mind is confused. You don't know what's real right now." But she did. Oh, she knew. Her eyes darted to the hidden picture frame she had uncovered earlier, the one showing Connor with the other woman, Amoka, and their child. She held it up like a mirror reflecting his sin. "Then tell me," she whispered, "who are they?" His silence was louder than thunder. He finally spoke, his voice cracking. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this. Amoka was, before you. Before the accident. I thought she was gone. When I found out she was still alive, and that I had a son, how could I tell you, lying there between life and death?" His words sliced the air. Truth or another layer of deceit? She couldn't tell anymore. She stepped closer, her face hardening. "Don't you dare twist this into pity. You built two lives, Connor. One with her, one with me." He reached out. "I was trying to protect you." "From what?" she snapped. "From the truth." The storm outside grew wild, thunder rolling over the city as if Lagos itself were listening. In that moment, Connor's confident mask crumbled. Tears welled in his eyes. "Ijeoma. I lost myself trying to be someone I thought you wanted. Perfect. Responsible. Strong. But I was weak. I lied because I couldn't face what I'd done." She looked at him, really looked, and saw a man not evil, but broken. Still, some wounds can't be healed with confession. She turned to leave. But as her hand touched the door, she heard a faint knock from outside. It wasn't the wind. She opened the door and froze. There stood Amoka, the other woman, drenched in rain, holding a little boy who clutched a worn teddy bear. For a long moment, the two women stared at each other. Two lives tied to the same lie. Two hearts betrayed by the same man. Amoka's voice was gentle, trembling. "I didn't come to fight. I just thought you should know, he wasn't lying about the child." Connor's face turned white. The boy peeked from behind his mother's legs. His eyes, wide, innocent, carried something familiar. Something that made Ijeoma's heart twist. He looked exactly like Connor, and just a little like her. Amoka looked down. "I didn't even know about you until he disappeared after the accident. I thought he was dead. I only came now because the hospital called about the coma." Silence stretched between them. Then, Ijeoma did something none of them expected. She stepped aside. "Come in," she said softly. Her voice didn't carry anger anymore. Only exhaustion and grace. The three of them stood in the living room, the sound of rain filling the silence. No one spoke. No one moved. Connor sat on the couch, face in his hands. Two women, two lives, stood before him like reflections of his past and future. And then the boy walked up to him, small, curious, unaware of the chaos surrounding him, and placed the teddy bear on Connor's lap. "Daddy," he whispered. Connor broke. He fell to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably. The man who had built his life on control finally lost it, undone by innocence. And Ijeoma, who had every reason to hate, simply stood there, tears streaming down her face. Sometimes, truth doesn't set you free. It leaves you standing in the ruins of what used to be, wondering if freedom was ever worth the price. But for Ijeoma, the healing had begun. She turned away, whispering to herself, "I may not forgive you today. But one day, I'll learn to live again."